Hey you, welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today, we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. 7 things she says when she's catching feelings must hear. Let's get into it. If a woman is developing feelings for you, she will say these 7 things. Psychology tricks. The deepest feelings are often revealed not by grand confessions, but by the quiet choices we make with our words. If a woman is starting to develop real feelings for you, she usually won't announce it right away. Instead, her emotions slip out naturally through the way she talks to you. Here's something many men don't realize. Attraction often shows up in language long before it shows up in actions. Words are not just tools for conversation, they're mirrors of emotion. And when a woman's feelings begin to deepen, her speech suddenly changes in ways she may not even be aware of. Psychology shows that emotional attachment is frequently expressed through small verbal patterns, tone phrasing, and the kinds of things someone chooses to say. In fact, relationship research by John Gottman has shown that the language people use can strongly predict emotional investment and long-term connection. When a woman is falling for you, her words start to carry more meaning. She may sound more personal, more emotionally open, or more curious about your inner world. These aren't accidents, they're signals. And here's the key point. Women often reveal their feelings long before they confess them. If you're asking yourself, does she feel something for me? The answer is usually already there, hidden in plain sight within her words. In this video, you'll learn the 7 specific things women tend to say when their emotions are growing stronger. These phrases aren't random. They follow clear psychological patterns that point to genuine attraction and emotional interest. Make sure you stay until the end because the final phrase is the strongest indicator of all, the one that almost always confirms she's truly into you. 1, I feel like I've known you forever. When a woman looks at you and says, I feel like I've known you forever, don't dismiss it as casual chatter. Don't laugh it off. Don't underestimate it because that sentence carries weight far beyond the words themselves. And for a man between 35 and 70 who has lived enough life to recognize patterns, this is one of those moments that deserves your full attention. What she is really revealing is not a memory, but a feeling, not a timeline, but a sense of emotional recognition that feels natural, calm, and deeply familiar. This is where female psychology quietly does its most powerful work. She is telling you that with you, her guard is down. Her nervous system is relaxed and her mind feels at home. And psychology tricks aside, this sense of forever doesn't come from fantasy. It comes from emotional safety, from conversations that flow without effort, from moments where she feels heard rather than analyzed, from your ability to stay present without trying to impress. Emotional familiarity is not about time spent. It's about how safe someone feels being themselves around you. Research in female psychology consistently shows that women often connect through emotional resonance. First, meaning that when she senses that you understand her rhythms, her humor, her silences, and her values, her mind shortcuts the calendar and says, this feels known. That feeling is powerful because the human brain is wired to trust what feels familiar. That is why Dr. John Gottman emphasizes emotional safety as a cornerstone of attraction. Not chemistry alone, not looks alone, but the sense that with you, she doesn't have to perform. When she says she feels like she's known you forever, she's associating you with calm warmth and reliability, all of which quietly fuel romantic interest without drama. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about the rare people you've met where conversation felt easy, where silence wasn't awkward, where you didn't feel the need to explain yourself. That's the same experience she's having now. And that's why this sentence is not random. It's a signal, a subtle confession that her subconscious has already placed you in a meaningful role. Even if consciously she hasn't labeled it yet, that's exactly why how you respond matters more than you think. Brushing it off with a joke that shuts it down or changing the subject sends the wrong message, while leaning into it with calm confidence reinforces the emotional bridge she's already building. Don't overreact. Don't interrogate the feeling. Don't rush it into something heavy. Instead, be present, be warm, be playful. A light, thoughtful response like, "That's interesting." Maybe we just speak the same language, or a gentle tease like, "So you're saying we skip the awkward phase," keeps the moment alive without pressure. A sincere reply such as "I get that it feels natural talking to you" validates her experience and deepens the connection. This is where many men miss the opportunity because they think attraction must always be loud or obvious, when in reality, some of the strongest signs come quietly, wrapped in comfort and familiarity. This is also where understanding how to fall in love becomes less about chasing and more about allowing. Love often grows in spaces where effort feels minimal and presence feels meaningful. From a psychological perspective, familiarity creates trust. Trust creates openness. Openness creates intimacy. That sequence is not accidental. It's deeply human when she verbalizes that sense of knowing you forever. She's letting you peek behind the curtain of her emotional world. You must understand that this is not about soulmates or destiny. In a dramatic sense, it's about alignment, about shared emotional wavelengths, about feeling safe enough to imagine continuity. When you acknowledge that feeling without trying to control it, you position yourself as someone who respects emotional depth, which is incredibly attractive at any age. Don't rush to define the relationship. Don't downplay the moment out of fear. Don't assume it means nothing. Instead, recognize it for what it is: a green light, a quiet opening, an invitation to continue showing up as you are. In female psychology, consistency matters more than intensity. The man who stays steady, curious, and emotionally available often becomes the man she grows attached to without even realizing how it happened. Psychology tricks are not about manipulation. They're about awareness, about knowing when a moment carries meaning and choosing to meet it with presence rather than avoidance. When you do that, when you listen without fixing, respond without posturing, and remain grounded, you create a space where feelings naturally deepen. Comfort turns into trust. Trust turns into affection. Affection slowly, almost effortlessly, turns into something more. Be calm, be genuine, be attentive. Because when a woman says she feels like she's known you forever, she's not talking about the past. She's quietly imagining the future. And whether that future grows closer depends less on clever lines and more on your ability to stay emotionally open, respectful, and real. That is ultimately the most powerful answer to how to fall in love. Not through force, not through strategy alone, but through understanding, patience, and the quiet strength of emotional intelligence. Something that both psychology tricks and lived experience point to again and again, especially when navigating the subtle, beautiful complexity of female psychology. 2, you're one of my closest friends, even if you haven't known each other long. When a woman looks at you and says, "You're one of my closest friends," especially when you haven't known each other very long, don't jump to conclusions. Don't tense up. Don't tell yourself a story that shuts the door too early. Pause, breathe, listen carefully. Because this sentence, when understood correctly, is not a rejection. It's a signal. It's a moment loaded with meaning. And for men between 35 and 70 who have lived, learned, and loved enough to know that human behavior is rarely simple, this is one of those moments where perspective makes all the difference. Many men hear the word friend and immediately feel a quiet alarm go off in their mind, but that reaction misses the deeper psychological truth behind what she's actually doing. When she calls you one of her closest friends early on, she's not categorizing you away. She's checking the emotional foundation. She's seeing how safe it feels to let you closer. Be clear about this. Women don't hand out emotional closeness lightly. When a woman places you in her inner circle, she's revealing trust, not indifference. That is important. That is meaningful. That is step 1. Attraction, especially lasting attraction, rarely begins with physical intensity alone. It begins with emotional security. Female psychology shows us again and again that before desire deepens, trust must settle in first. This is why a high-value man doesn't panic when emotions enter the conversation. He understands them, he respects them, he knows they're part of the process. Don't rush to label the moment. Don't rush to defend your ego. Be grounded, be calm, be present. Think about what she's really saying beneath the words. When she tells you you're one of her closest friends, she's saying, I feel safe here. She's saying, I don't have to hide. She's saying, you listen, and that matters more than most men realize. Women are naturally drawn to men who make them feel emotionally understood before anything else. That sense of being emotionally held is what allows attraction to grow without fear. If she's opening up about her past, sharing her doubts, laughing freely, or trusting you with parts of her story, she doesn't share with just anyone that's not casual. That's investment. Emotional investment always comes before romantic investment. Always. Now, imagine the moment clearly. She smiles, maybe shrugs a little, and says, I feel like I can tell you anything. You're one of my closest friends. That's not her closing a door. That's her opening one and waiting to see if you walk through it with confidence or trip over your own assumptions. Your response here matters. Don't deflate. Don't get awkward. Don't act like you've lost ground. You haven't. In fact, you're standing on solid ground. You must respond in a way that shows maturity, emotional intelligence, and quiet certainty. This is where masculine energy shows itself, not through force, but through calm assurance. A thoughtful response like, I appreciate that. I think the best connections are built on trust does something powerful. It doesn't reject her statement. It doesn't cling to it either. It reframes it. It suddenly introduces the idea that closeness and attraction are not opposites, but partners. That's how you attract women without pressure. That's how a high-value man moves. He doesn't rush the moment. He shapes it gently. He understands that emotional safety is not the enemy of attraction. It's the doorway to it. Don't underestimate how important this stage is. Many men sabotage potential relationships by reacting emotionally instead of intentionally. They hear friend and either withdraw or overcompensate. Both responses create distance. What you want instead is alignment. You want her to feel that her trust was placed in the right person, that you're steady, that you don't need to rush labels or outcomes to feel confident in yourself. Confidence is quiet. Confidence is patient. Confidence understands timing. Be honest with yourself at this stage. She's evaluating how you handle closeness. Can you stay grounded when emotions deepen? Can you remain attractive without needing to prove anything? Can you hold space without demanding more than she's ready to give? These are the questions she's asking, even if she never says them out loud. And when you answer those questions with your behavior, not your words, attraction begins to shift slowly, naturally, without force. This is where many long-lasting relationships actually begin, not with fireworks, but with familiarity, not with intensity, but with comfort. A man who understands how to attract women knows that attraction is not built by chasing desire, but by creating safety where desire can grow. That's masculine energy at its most refined, calm, stable present. You don't need to rush ahead. You don't need to pull away. You simply need to stay centered. Don't ignore the opportunity here. Emotional closeness is not a detour. It's the road itself. When she feels safe, she becomes curious. When she becomes curious, attraction deepens. When attraction deepens, connection follows. This is how real relationships form. This is how respect and desire meet in the same place. And this is why a high-value man doesn't fear being called a close friend early on. He understands the context. He understands the psychology. He understands himself. Be consistent, be attentive, be yourself, but the grounded version of yourself. The man who listens without fixing, the man who speaks without needing to impress, the man who is emotionally available without being emotionally dependent. That balance is powerful. That balance is rare. And that balance is exactly what allows women to move from trust to attraction at their own pace. You must remember this attraction that lasts is built, not forced. Emotional connection is the foundation, not the finish line. When she calls you one of her closest friends, she's telling you that you've already done something right. Don't undo it with fear. Don't misread it through old myths. Read it for what it is, an opening, a sign of trust, a moment to stay steady and let things evolve. This is how you attract women naturally. This is how masculine energy shows up without effort. This is how a high-value man moves through connection with clarity and calm. Be patient, be intentional, and above all, don't underestimate the power of being someone she feels safe, growing closer to. If this opened your eyes, don't stay silent. Act. Men who understand emotional trust don't panic. They lead with calm confidence. So, drop a comment right now and lock this mindset in. I don't fear connection. I build it, like this video. Subscribe for more sharp psychology tricks and remind yourself daily when trust comes first, attraction follows. 3. You're so different from other guys I've met. When a woman looks you in the eye and says, "You're so different from other guys I've met," don't brush it off like it's small talk, because it isn't. This is a signal, a spotlight, a clear psychological marker that you're separating yourself from the noise. And in modern life, that separation is everything, because attention is the rarest currency. Now, she's not testing you in some dramatic way. She's assessing where to place her emotional energy, and when she compares you favorably, it means you've moved from random option to serious consideration, which is exactly how attraction works when it's real. Understand what's happening under the surface. She's beginning to filter her experience through you, and that's why this line matters. Psychologists often describe this kind of mental filtering as selective perception, where the mind notices what supports a growing emotional preference and quietly ignores what doesn't. Said simply, you're becoming the reference point. And here's the rule. Don't chase the compliment. Lead it. Don't rush to thank her like you're collecting approval. Don't over-explain yourself like you're applying for a role. Don't get noisy. Stay calm. Stay centered. This is where old Stoic wisdom pays off, because the man who can receive a strong signal without losing his frame is the man she trusts. And trust is what attraction grows into when it's meant to last. Remember what Marcus Aurelius taught in Spirit. Your strength is in your control of yourself, not in your control of outcomes. And as Epictetus warned, if you want to be free, stop being a slave to other people's reactions. So when she gives you this line, you don't react like a man who needs it. You respond like a man who's used to being recognized. Your answer should be light, confident, and slightly playful, because playfulness is not childish. It's social mastery. Say, "I'll take that as a compliment," and hold your eye contact, then press gently. What exactly feels different? That one question is power, because it guides her to name the reasons she's drawn to you. And when she puts those reasons into words, she's not just describing you, she's convincing herself. This is a quiet psychological truth. What people verbalize, they reinforce. What they reinforce, they deepen. And you want depth, not temporary excitement. You want clarity, not confusion. You want a clean path forward, not a loop of mixed signals. That's why you lead her into specificity, because specificity turns attraction into intention. And when she starts listing things, you actually listen. You're calm. You don't try too hard. You feel solid. Don't puff up and start performing. Just nod, smile, and own it with a grounded line like "I value that," or "That's how I choose to live short firm." No theatrics. This is the posture of an iron mind, and women recognize it instantly because it's rare in a world full of men who talk big but fold under pressure in today's dating culture. Many men mistake attraction for a game of constant messaging, constant proving, constant entertaining. That's not strength. That's anxiety dressed up as effort. You don't win with more words. You win with better energy. You win with steadiness. You win with self-respect. As Theodore Roosevelt put it, speak softly and carry a big stick. Not loud, not needy, not scattered, controlled, clear. And if you want a modern blueprint, here it is. Keep your life full, your body trained, your finances disciplined, your friendships real, your schedule purposeful, because nothing builds attraction like a man who has direction. She doesn't want to be your entire world. She wants to be invited into a world that's already standing strong. That is stoicism. Win in action. You handle your business. You manage your emotions. You respect your time. You show up with calm confidence and listen closely. This line, "you're different," is often her way of saying she feels safer with you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Consistency is the new luxury, especially in a world of flakiness, half promises, and endless options. So your advice is simple. When she says it, don't fumble it. Don't get cocky. Don't get insecure. Don't make it heavy. Keep it clean. Keep it masculine. Keep it forward. Ask the question that makes her clarify. Then take action that matches her words. Set a real plan, a real date, a real time lead with certainty. That's how a man separates himself from the crowd. He doesn't just talk well, he moves well. He doesn't just sound confident, he behaves confident. And remember this, the goal isn't to trick her into liking you. The goal is to give her a clear experience of your standards, your calm, and your character. That's why old Stoic wisdom matters here, because the man who can stay centered in the moment is the man who can build something real over time. Be the man who listens without pretending. Be the man who jokes without seeking approval. Be the man who leads without forcing. Be the man who stays respectful without shrinking. That's your edge. That's your power. That's your iron mind. And if you want a sentence to carry with you, make it this. When she says, "You're different." Don't argue, don't apologize, don't overreact, confirm it, clarify it, and continue forward. That's how you build momentum. That's how you build connection. That's how you win with honor. That's stoicism. Win calm strength in a noisy world, decisive action in a confused world, and quiet certainty in a world that begs you to doubt yourself. 4. I feel like I can be myself around you. When a woman looks at you and says, "I feel like I can be myself around you," don't brush it off. Don't laugh it away. Don't underestimate it. That sentence carries more emotional weight than most compliments you will ever hear in your life. Men who understand female psychology know this is not casual talk. This is a signal, a quiet confession, a door cracking open to something deeper. What she is really saying is that around you, she does not feel the pressure to perform, impress, or protect herself. She does not feel like she has to edit her words, manage her emotions, or play a role that feels safer than the truth. In a world where most people walk around wearing masks without even realizing it, this kind of comfort is rare, powerful, and deeply attractive. Think about how people usually behave. We adjust ourselves constantly at work. We soften parts of our personality in public. We hide insecurities on dates. We often present a polished version that feels acceptable, not necessarily honest. That is human nature. So when a woman tells you she can be herself with you, she is telling you that her nervous system relaxes in your presence, that she does not feel judged, rushed, or evaluated that matters more than looks, money, or clever lines. Psychology tricks often focus on tactics and shortcuts. But this moment is not about manipulation. It is about safety. And safety is the foundation of attraction that lasts in female psychology. Emotional safety is what allows desire to grow roots instead of fading after the excitement wears off. This is why psychologists talk about authenticity, bonding, the deep human need to connect with someone who allows us to exist as we truly are without fear of rejection. When she starts acting a little silly around you, when she shows you her strange humor, when she admits something she usually keeps hidden, when she laughs at herself or shares a worry she does not post online, that is not randomness. That is trust unfolding in real time. Don't miss it. Don't rush it. Be present. Be steady. That is what she is responding to. You must understand that this is not about you being perfect. It is about you being grounded. It is about how you listen, how you react, and how you make space. If she says something awkward and you don't flinch, if she shares a fear and you don't minimize it, if she reveals a flaw and you don't try to fix her, you are silently telling her you're safe here. And safety creates attachment faster than any flashy move ever could. Many men sabotage this moment by overthinking it. They either downplay it, joke too hard, or immediately try to escalate things in a way that feels forced. Don't do that. Be calm, be warm, be real. If she tells you she can be herself around, you acknowledge it with confidence and kindness. Say something simple but sincere, like that means a lot to me, or I'm glad you feel comfortable here. That is enough. You don't need a speech. You don't need to impress if she's being playful or goofy. Meet her there. Match her energy without mocking it. Let her see that you enjoy her real self, not just the version she shows the world. That is how to fall in love begins in the real sense, not with fireworks, but with ease. And here's the part most men don't realize. Once a woman experiences this level of comfort with you, it becomes emotionally addictive in the healthiest way. She starts associating you with peace, with relief, with home. In female psychology, emotions are tied strongly to memory, and if being around you feels like exhaling after holding her breath all day, she will crave that feeling again and again. That is why she will text you more.